HTG crew, what up? Big week, Millie Maker week, Players Championship week. We're at TPC Sawgrass. The Florida swing continues. Here we go, baby. Wasn't a great week last week. Our boy Cam Davis finally was a bit of a letdown for us. It's okay. Cam Davis has come through for us so many times that really can't be mad at the guy. And honestly, probably be taking a look at him this week as well, to be honest, at the players. But yeah, we couldn't go back to back after we hit the winner with Morikawa. Was hoping to go back to back here at API, but couldn't quite pull it off. Didn't even come close with Cam Davis missing the cut. Huge win from Bryson there, but jumping the gun a little bit. Let me get sparked up before I start getting into what happened at API. So this week I'm smoking Wedding Pie. Interesting strain name. Growers Elyon once again. I've been sort of sticking to their stuff here lately, it seems. It's a hybrid testing at 21.42% THC. So let's get it cooking. And you know what, guys? It's okay that the player pool wasn't the strongest this past week because we were saving this shit for the Millie Maker. I mean, 250K to first would have been nice, but let's have our week this week. What do you say? Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so recapping the API, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Bryson wins at 11 under. Hell of a round on Sunday. Was one of three players to shoot under par on Sunday. The other players, Andrew Putnam and Matt Wallace, also shot 1 under. So Bryson, Putnam, and Wallace all shoot 1 under on Sunday. Bryson's the winner, just edging out Lee Westwood, who played really well all week long. If only he could have gotten up and down for that birdie on 16. We probably would have seen a playoff then between Westwood and Bryson, which would have been interesting. But Bryson was phenomenal. That dude is so much fun to watch play golf. Him going over the water on 6, taking that crazy aggressive line, and he actually could have been more aggressive with the line if he really wanted to be. Dude's just pure entertainment. Like, even if you're not a Bryson person, like not a big Bryson fan, you can't deny that the guy's pure entertainment. And overall, he's good for the game of golf. He brings eyeballs to the game, and ultimately that's what we're after here. So love seeing Bryson in the winner's circle again. Definitely well deserved. He hit the ball exceptionally tee to green. Coming into this week, not necessarily the best course fit, I don't think, but Bryson's playing so well that, I mean, he might eat Sawgrass alive too, but great performance from Bryson. Back to Lee Westwood. One thing I wanted to note on Westwood became the only player on tour to hold a 54-hole lead in each of the last 4 decades. So Westwood's held a 54-hole lead in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. So good on you, Lee Westwood. That's sick. I mean, hopefully we see Tiger Woods join him on that list if our boy can make a fucking comeback one more time. But good on you, Lee Westwood. Like, that's a phenomenal achievement for a career, and I was really surprised when I saw that. One other thing that we have to talk about that happened last week: Jordan Spieth finished near the top of the leaderboard again. This is becoming a weekly thing, guys. Spieth's back, and it seems like when he starts playing better, he also starts getting luckier. Like you see him holing these ridiculously long bombs of putts. He was actually like a centimeter away from making an 85-footer this past week. So, I mean, the hole-in-one was insane. Like the bounce and the roll that he got on the ace that he made. It's just, you can sort of feel that when everything's going for Spieth, the luck factor is also there for him. So it's something to definitely watch. When Augusta rolls around, you can't really fade him at this point if he's still in good form like he is now. For this week, he's awful here at the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass, so I'm going to fade him. The course history sort of speaks for itself. Even when he's been peak Spieth, right, he hasn't really shown much around this golf course. So now's not the time, not this week, not for the Millie Maker, but We're going to be watching Jordan Spieth very closely, and when we do get good course fits, especially in the big tournaments that'll have Millie Maker type tournaments on DraftKings, like the Masters, where we know Spieth loves Augusta, yeah, we're definitely going to fire him up, and I'm sure we're not going to be alone, but we're gonna want to make sure we have some Jordan Spieth at Augusta this year. Okay, yeah, that wraps up API. Let me see if this thing sure did fucking go out. API, always great event. Arnold Palmer's legacy, pretty undeniable in the game of golf, right? He's up there with the Jack Nicklauses, the Tiger Woods, right? When you think of golf, Arnold Palmer is one of the first names that comes to mind. So always great to be at Arnie's tourney with Arnie's Army. It was a great event. Definitely a worthy champion in Bryson, but I'm on to the players because our DraftKings pool kind of fucking sucked last week, and we got a big tournament, $1 million to first. We're at TPC Sawgrass. Let's get into it. All right, TPC Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Don't know why I said it like that, but par 72, 7,189 yards, and they're on like Bermuda greens, but it's some mixture of tons of grasses that I don't really care to share with you. We'll call them Bermuda greens for this week. Rory McIlroy's our defending champion, defending from his 2019 title, actually. There was no 2020, event due to COVID. But Rory shot 16 under in 2019 in his victory. Weather this week, we're going to be in the mid-70s in temps with little chance of precipitation. Winds can get gusty. We are here in Florida, but they should stay in the 9 to 11 mile an hour range for most of the week. So Sawgrass, what are we looking for at TPC Sawgrass? Not a particularly long golf course, right? A golf course that's definitely going to play some type of like target golf-ish, right? The Pete Dye sort of players are the ones you're after, right? Correlation, I sort of think maybe Honda Classic. You want guys who can keep the ball from getting wet, right? So guys that are going to be able to play the par threes well, guys that are going to be able to, gain off the tee and leave themselves in good positions off the tee, but not necessarily have to be long. And most importantly, guys who are going to be absolute pinpoint on approach. Another week where we're really dialing in on those great iron players. That's why I imagine that, when you go through the player pool that I'm going to suggest here, the overarching theme is that these guys can all really make hay on approach. So that's really what we're looking for this week. The total statistical model, strokes gained on approach is leading in weight in our model. Then strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained on par threes, opportunities gained, and strokes gained putting finishes it off. And for those of you that might not know what opportunities gained are, it's basically a measure of how many times you're giving yourself 20 feet or less for a birdie or an eagle, right? For birdie or better. So it's identifying people that are, giving themselves very good looks at birdie. And maybe they're not finishing it off with the putter, but if they keep giving themselves good looks, we'll take our chances that eventually they'll start dropping. So speaking of dropping, withdrawals from this event, Brooks Koepka has withdrawn, and so has Danny Willett earlier in the week. Both of those withdrawals. My winner, I want you guys to drop it in the comments who you think my winner is. I will tell you my winner's coming out of the mid-shelf and is one of the more premier plays in the mid-shelf. So drop it in the comments. Who do you think my winner is? And when we get to the mid-shelf, you guys will find out. All right, I got to re-spark. I'm going to get a little drink. Actually, I got some coffee going today. We're getting lit, coffee and cannabis. It's tight. Little oat milk in that coffee. A little Oatly. If you haven't had oat milk in your coffee, you should try it. Shit's amazing. All right. Let's get into the top shelf plays, shall we? First top shelf play. Mr. Rory McIlroy, $10,600 price tag, 13.8% projected ownership. You guys know I'm all over Rory this year. Obviously, he won the event in 2019, so yeah, he likes it around here, and he can really just eat this golf course up with his driver off the tee. So, absolutely love Rory. $10,600 feels very fair. Just slightly prefer him to guys like Rom and DJ because of the price savings that I'm going to get, and it's going to allow me to pay up in other spots for better players because I really do like a sort of balanced approach this week. A lot of good players in the 9 and 8K ranges. So Rory getting that price savings looks really good to me. 13.8% projected ownership is absolutely fair. And I understand why the ownership is spread amongst all these guys up here in the top shelf. I mean, you could play any one of them. They're all absolute studs, right? They're some of the best players in the world. But for me, I would rather go to Rory than DJ or Rom. And that's sort of where I'm starting lineups if I am gonna start up in this 10K range. I will skip over DJ and Rom and just look to Rory first. So Rory McIlroy definitely looking like a great play. And the other top shelf play that I'm going to look to this week, with Brooks Koepka having withdrawn, there are only actually, let's see here, 4 top shelf plays available. So it's going to be Xander Schauffele at $10,300, 15.6% projected ownership. And I just like the approach numbers for McIlroy and Schauffele here as of late more than Rom and DJ. And I'm getting the price savings. So that's really just what the decision came down to. So I'll be playing McIlroy and Schauffele here up top, but I can't fault you for looking to DJ or Rom if you can make the salary work. But I'm suspecting if you're like me, you're going to want to be grabbing a lot of these guys in the mid shelf. So Rory McIlroy, $10,600, 13.8% projected ownership, and Xander Schauffele, $10,300, 15.6% projected ownership are my top shelf plays. And now we'll get into the mid shelf plays. Players priced $7,500 or more and less than $10,000. First mid-shelf play is Justin Thomas, JT at $9,900, 16.8% projected ownership. And if you dropped in the comments that you thought JT was my winner, congratulations. Fucking ding, ding, ding. You nailed it. Good shit. Get him in your lineups right now. Love JT this week. 16.8% projected ownership. Absolutely fair. The price tag seems too cheap. He really is, he's the same caliber player as Xander Schauffele for sure. He's better than Xander Schauffele. So to get a $400 discount and, relatively the same ownership, I love JT this week. A guy who we know can get super, super hot on approach. Here as of late, Justin Thomas at WGC Mexico gained 9.5 strokes on approach and gained 5.8 strokes tee to green. So he lost an uncharacteristic 5.9 strokes off the tee there at WGC Mexico, which is slightly concerning. I mean, certainly, but that's definitely an outlier performance here looking at his strokes gain data. Let's see. Over his last 5, he has lost 0.6 strokes off the tee, but obviously that being skewed by the performance at Mexico where he lost 5.9 strokes, almost 6 strokes off the tee. But over his last 10, he still managed to barely gain. He gained 0.1 strokes off the tee. Over his last 20, he's gained 0.7 strokes off the tee. And over his last 160 measured events, he's gained 1.1 strokes off the tee. So long term, we know that JT is not a guy who's going to lose us 5.9 strokes off the tee. And the approach numbers were unreal at 9.5 strokes gained. And he has flashed that type of upside before. 7.6 strokes gained on approach at Tournament of Champions. 7.7 strokes gained on approach at WGC St. Jude back in August of last year. 8.8 strokes gained on approach at Workday Charity Open in July of last year. So we know Thomas has tons of upside on approach, and the off the tee is literally the worst performance he's had since the RSM in October of 2014, where he lost 5.6 strokes off the tee, but he lost 5.9 at WGC Mexico. So it's literally the worst performance he's had in like his last 160 measured events. So I'm willing to throw it out. I think JT bounces back in a huge way, and he is my winner this week, so I'll be slotting in plenty of him at $9,900, 16.8% projected ownership. A guy who really should have come to mind for you when I said I'm going to love players on who excel on approach this week and we're on Bermuda greens It's Webb Simpson, $9,500 price tag, 20.1% projected ownership. So the field is there with us this week, but that's okay. We need to ride a little bit of Webb. He's a perfect fit around this golf course, and he's had success around here, of course, before with the win in 2018. In 2019 came T16, and in 2017 came T16. So has a win sandwich between a couple of T16s here at TPC Sawgrass. So Webb looking like a phenomenal value at $9,500. A guy who for cash, if you're just playing, a smaller tournament where, ownership really doesn't matter and you really want to ride the chalk, Webb's a guy who I think you have to slot in this week. Looking like a great play, $9,500, 20.1% projected ownership. And if you're playing cash, I would probably start my lineup with Webb. Or maybe go JT Webb, and if you can slot in this next guy, Colin Morikawa, $9,400 price tag, 20.4% projected ownership. Webb and Morikawa are the priorities in cash over JT. JT for me is the priority in GPPs, so in the Millionaire Maker, I'll definitely be getting to lots of JT. But Morikawa looking like a very, very safe play this week. 20.4% projected ownership, like Webb, it's high and the field's already there, but Morikawa is a value at this price tag. He's a great fit for this golf course. Let's see what Morikawa... It is his first appearance here, which I'm not concerned about at all. The course should be a good fit for him. If the putter shows up, then Morikawa will likely, be contending to win this event this week. So $9,400 price tag, certainly fair. Another player who seems like a bargain in this 9K pricing range, and I told you guys, the 9K and 8K range is loaded with guys that are super, super talented. Patrick Cantlay, $9,200 price tag, 21.4% projected ownership. You have to go get yourself as many of these guys in this 9K range as you can because they're rating out phenomenally. Cantlay, as we know, a stellar tee to green player. On approach, over the last 24 measured rounds, Cantlay coming 27th in this field and 24th tee to green, and we know he has upside to provide more than that. The putter can run hot and cold with Cantlay, but right now it seems to be running hot. 13th in this field over the last 12 measured rounds. I'm sorry, this data is over the last 12 measured rounds. 13th in this field in strokes gained putting over the last 12 measured rounds. And Cantlay he's steady. He's the metronome here on the PGA Tour, a guy who we can expect to make cuts and expect to churn out top 20 finishes. So for that reason, I like him at a $9,200 price tag, 21.4% projected ownership. Another guy who you can play in cash as well. This next guy is more of a GPP play. Mr. Scotty Scheffler, $8,900 price tag, 11.2% projected ownership has me interested because I've mentioned to you guys, I think Scheffler's legit. Like, I think he is, gonna start to stamp his name up there with, at least the Matthew Wolff types in the game. So I love Scheffler this week. 11.2% is very, very tasty for a guy who I think has all the upside in the world. $8,900 price tag is definitely fair. Scheffler is coming in 47th in the custom model. Only 77th on approach over the last 12 measured rounds. But Scheffler did play well at WGC Mexico, gained 9.2 strokes tee to green and 3.9 strokes on approach. So that has me encouraged that it looks like maybe the game's trending in the right direction. So I do like Scheffler this week, especially due to the ownership down there at 11.2%. A guy who I sort of like this week because it's getting hard to keep going back to him, but the ownership seems fair. And man, one of these weeks it feels like he's going to pop. Hideki Matsuyama, $8,700 price tag, 10.7% projected ownership. And Decky, when he's at his best, is a stellar player on approach. But man, he just can't seem to figure it out. And it's been this way for a while now. So it is definitely concerning. But if one of these weeks he does break out of the slump, we know what peak Decky is. And peak Decky is a good fit for this golf course. Came T8 in 2019, T7 in 2016, T17 in 2015, also had a T22 in 2017. So, Hideki, he's a good fit for the golf course if he is playing like peak Hideki Matsuyama, which he is not in a very, very long time, and that's concerning. But at least over the last 12 measured rounds, 27th tee to green, 33rd on approach, in this field. So looks like it's at least trending in the right direction. Decky also last week at the API gained 4.5 strokes tee to green and 4 strokes on approach. So that all checks out. He also gained 1.7 with the putter. So if Decky can keep that trend going, yeah, this is a good fit for him. So if you can slot in some Hideki Matsuyama, I don't hate it at all, especially at 10.7%. Tyrrell Hatton at $8,500, 11.9% projected ownership. Looking like a solid play, of course, because we're looking at guys who gain strokes on approach, and that's what Tyrrell Hatton does. Anytime we're at an event that, strokes gained on approach is going to be big, then we're going to be looking to Hatton. Hatton in large events maybe is thought to not have as big of performances, which is fair. He's been cut here in 2019 and 2018, came T41 in 2017, so doesn't have great course history either. So I would rather go to Hideki or drop down below Hatton a bit. But because we are looking at guys who gain strokes on approach, you can't leave Ty Hatton off the list if that's what you're trusting in your model. So there are a couple red flags, but we're still maybe going to slot in some Hatton if we can get to him at 11.9% projected ownership, $8,500 price tag. I mentioned I'd rather go below Hatton, and it's for really this next group of guys from the $8,400 down to $7,800 pricing range. It's a 4-guy group. Paul Casey at $8,400, 13.7% projected ownership. Again, it's not like rocket science. Strokes gained on approach, guys who can keep the ball dry, keep it in the fairway. We're going to be looking at Paul Casey. Casey at this event has had some success in the past. Came T22 in 2017 and T23 in 2016. He was cut in 2019, the last time he played this event. But we know that Casey, when he's at his best, will definitely present us some upside at this golf course and usually a bit of safety. A guy, Paul Casey, has a pretty high made cut percentage over his PGA Tour career. So a guy that, you can look to more so in cash games, maybe not as much upside as you would like in GPPs for the price tag, but still nonetheless looking like a solid value at $8,400 and 13.7% projected ownership. For GPPs and for the Millie Maker, though, I would rather go to Sungjae Im, 9.2% projected ownership, $8,300 price tag, and it's Bermuda. It's strokes gained on approach that we're looking at, this sort of target golf style, the Pete Dye style golfer, and Sungjae fits that ilk. So I'm going to be looking to Sungjae, even though he did get cut here in his only appearance in 2019. I think that's just going to have people off his trail. The golf course should be a great fit for Sungjae Im, and a guy who has all the talent in the world. The upside is to win this event. I do like his upside a bit more, maybe than a Paul Casey, a guy who doesn't win as frequently on tour, but feels a bit safer from a make the cut equity perspective. But I do love Sungjae in GPPs, only 9.2% projected ownership, and $8,300 is pretty easy to get to this week. I also like Tommy Fleetwood because he's priced all the way down at $7,900. 11% projected ownership, but for the upside that Fleetwood carries, this is a dude who might not even really look like he's in contention through Saturday, and then he comes out and fires these Sunday 62s and shit, and it is wild, and he might climb the leaderboard to second, or one of these years, he might actually finally, come through and win one of these events. So, Fleetwood at $7,900 for the upside he carries, and only 11% projected ownership, have to take a look. I'm not even going to go over the stats because the stats aren't really going to tell you, what you want to see. But course histories on his side, T5, T7, and T41 the last 3 times he played around here. And when I say I'm not going to tell you the stats, I mean from the model, because he's not rating out well in the model, because he hit a little rough patch of golf there for a bit. But recently, he has been playing decently well. And I will let you know how he looked at API. Gained 5.4 strokes tee to green and 4.7 strokes on approach. Did lose 2.4 strokes off the tee. So, Fleetwood If he can gain off the tee this week, he's definitely going to pay off this price tag. And we know that the upside is huge at this price tag at $7,900, which is really the reason that you want to get some leverage on that 11% that the field's playing him. So I love Tommy Fleetwood as a GPP play. He's the type of play that, that can take your lineup to $1 million lineup. As is the next guy, Louis Oosthuizen. $7,800 price tag, a guy whose upside is enormous, we know, and who can show up in big events. 7.3% projected ownership for Louis Oosthuizen. And, I mean, at this price tag and this ownership, I absolutely have to have me some Louis. After the withdrawal last week, people are going to be scared away. The ownership, honestly, would not be surprised if it came in even lower than this projected ownership showing. Oosthuizen came T2 here in 2017, so we know he has upside. He's made the cut here 4 of the last 5 times he's been here. Bring your mattress to Florida, Louis. Get a good night's sleep. Let the back feel nice. And let's get to swinging it like we know you can, man, because even at 7.3% projected ownership, I bet it comes in more like 5%. And I love that for a guy whose upside is, a top 5 at a $7,800 price tag. So Louis is going to be our guy, and you have to know that it comes with risk. He might withdraw. You never know. The back's not feeling right. Louis might withdraw. So it's a pretty all or nothing play, but one that I'm definitely comfortable with this week. So Louis Oosthuizen, a guy I'm going to be loading up on. If Louis is not your flavor for the week, you can look at Jason Kokrak, $7,700 price tag. 6.5% projected ownership, also getting low ownership, and just a guy that hits his irons, particularly well for this pricing range. Maybe not the same caliber of player as the players he's priced around, but at least a great player on approach. 22nd on approach in this field over the last 12 measured rounds, and 5th in opportunities gained. So not only is he, hitting greens, but he's also hitting it close. So we can look to Kokrak this week. Kokrak's course history here. Came T47 last year, in 2019, T46 in 2018, was cut the 3 times before that. So at least he's improving a bit, making the cut the last 2 years that he played the event. But not a ton of upside here. But it seems like with us focusing on approach, Kokrak wouldn't be a bad option either. But I would rather go to Louis or Fleetwood, try to find the money there. Or if you do have to spend $7,700, I would also prefer to go to Joaquin Niemann, who's priced right at $7,700 along with Kokrak. Niemann has 12.7% projected ownership. Niemann, another young player that maybe is getting a little overlooked because of the wild success of these other young players like Morikawa, Hovland, Wolf, who are spectacular. Don't get me wrong. They deserve all the attention that they get, but sort of steals a little bit of the shine from these other players like Scheffler and Niemann, who are really up and coming in their own right. Niemann's going to be making his debut at this event, but as far as I'm concerned, it should be a great fit. A guy who can gain strokes on approach in bunches. He's been hitting the ball well, tee to green, so I do like Niemann this week at $7,700. I also like Will Zalatoris, a guy who we've been playing a lot of recently. $7,600 price tag, 13.9% projected ownership, a guy who also can gain strokes on approach in bunches and is really starting to prove himself as maybe a player out here on tour. Zalatoris at the API gained 8.6 strokes tee to green and 4.6 strokes on approach. He's absolutely striping it. Zalatoris looks like a great play. And man, a balanced build just feels so right this week, guys. You can play in this, 9K, 8K, and high 7K range all day, and you're getting quality players with, a lot of top 10, top 5 equity. So I love this pricing range all the way down to Zalatoris. And then there's sort of a bit of a fall off after Zalatoris, I would say, but I do still like this next player who finishes off the mid shelf. Abraham Answer, right at $7,500 flat. So just making it into the mid shelf here and out of the SCHWAG bag. 13.7% projected ownership on Answer. And Answer has shown an ability to get nuclear with the irons before. Trying to think, what was that event where he went absolutely nuts? Answer did come T12 here in 2019. And it was the Heritage, yeah. So the RBC Heritage last June, Abraham Answer gained 13.7 strokes tee to green and 11.8 strokes on approach. So, yeah, I mean, he has some nuclear upside when it comes to gaining strokes on approach, which is what we're looking at this week most heavily. So, at 13.7% and $7,500 price tag, you can slide some Answer into your lineup as well, even though I personally would prefer to go to a Zalatoris or a Neiman. And that closes out the mid-shelf, guys. HTG crew, we're into everyone's favorite part of the fucking show. It's the swag bag. And I got to get myself a little more coffee. I got to respark my cannabis. And then we're going to get to it. We actually have a pretty big swag bag this week. Let's see. 3, 6, 9. We have 12 players in the swag bag. And I actually wouldn't recommend dipping into the swag bag too much this week. I would try to, as I said, a balanced build's feeling really right for me. But if, you do want to go up and grab a Rory or a Xander, or even if you want to go up and grab a DJ or a Rahm, I'm at least going to let you know the players that I would prefer to look to down here in the sub $7,500 pricing range on DraftKings. If, you're stuck in a bit of a pickle. Oat milk in the coffee really is unreal. You got to do it. All right. The first swag bag play. Mr. Russell Henley. $7,400 price tag. 8.8% projected ownership. Henley coming in 27th in the custom model. He's 16th on approach, which again, that's really what we're looking at. 46th in opportunities gained. The one concern, Henley coming in 105th in strokes gained on the par threes. These par threes this week do play pretty difficult. Playing like the top half of the difficulty of the holes on the golf course. Certainly. So, and of course, the famed 17th will be, I always love watching that hole. That hole is fucking amazing. I need to play that golf course specifically to play that hole. I would pay the greens fees of TPC Sawgrass just to play number 17. To play 17 alone. If they let me play it, just a couple times in a row. Like, that hole is fucking awesome. I'd go dump 10 balls in the water and have the best time doing it. Anyway, Henley looking like a solid play. Gonna gain strokes on approach. But yeah, the par threes are a bit of a concern. So like I said, I don't want to dip down into the swag bag too much this week. So I don't plan on getting too much Henley anyway. But if I do end up in this weird pricing range, I might look to him. I'd probably rather look to some guys priced below him probably though. Like Corey Connors, actually priced at the same price at $7,400 as Connors. 11.1% projected ownership. Connors, we know, a phenomenal ball striker, a shit putter. I mean, you guys have heard the story plenty of times. I'm not really even going to get into the data. So Corey Connors looking like a solid play, played extremely well last week at the API. So no problems with going to Connors. Lanto Griffin looking good. He's been playing really good golf lately. $7,300 price tag, 7.7% projected ownership, 17th in the custom model, 17th on approach. So yeah, Lanto looking good. 38th on those par threes. So $7,300 price tag and 7.7% projected ownership. Don't hate Lanto. Also don't hate Siwoo Kim. $7,200 price tag, 6.4% projected ownership. Siwoo obviously has tons of upside at this event, seeing as he has won it before. He won the event in 2017. So yeah, Siwoo, when he's firing on these types of golf courses, he is nuclear. So love, you guys know, especially for like a Millie Maker type of tournament, I love me some fucking upside, especially at a cheap price tag. So Siwoo's doing that for us at $7,200. Hasn't been playing great lately, but it's nothing too concerning. Let's get Siwoo's recent performances up here. So yeah, at the Genesis, he did lose 5.7 strokes on approach. That is concerning, but I mean, that's, again, it looks like an outlier performance. And Siwoo was a guy who just, he's volatile. Like, some weeks he'll lose 5.7 on approach, and then other weeks, like at the American Express, he'll gain 7.9 strokes on approach and go win the damn thing. So It's just, yeah, the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of, yin and yang and fucking angel devil thing that fucking Siwoo Kim has going on, where he's either going to miss the cut and almost DFL coming dead fucking last, or, he's contending come Sunday. So I love myself those types of players in Millionaire Maker types events, especially when they're coming in at 6.4% projected ownership. So I'll be owning myself some Siwoo Kim this week. I also like Chris Kirk, which surprised me. $7,000 flat, 11.9% projected ownership. I have to relight this. And Kirk's just been really good on approach here lately, which I sort of didn't notice. 29th in this field in strokes gained approach over the last 12 measured events. 16th in opportunities gained. Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up for some Chris Kirk. $7,000 flat, 11.9% projected ownership. Go for it. I believe Kirk also has good course history here. Kirk has made the cut 4 of the last 5 times he's played here. He actually withdrew in 2016, is why he didn't make the cut, with his best finish being a T12 in 2017. So yeah, go ahead, go for it with Chris Kirk. $7,000 flat, 11.9% projected ownership. Another guy who just keeps showing up in this swag bag, Keegan Bradley. $6,900, $6,900 price tag, 8.4% projected ownership. Mr. Keegan Bradley, a guy who, similarly to Siwoo Kim, is, he's either going to miss the cut miserably or he's going to pay off this price tag, handsomely. So you can look to Keegan as a high volatility play at a cheap price tag down at $6,900. Would like to see the ownership lower on Keegan than 8.4%. That's creeping toward double digits, which I usually like to see Keegan, or like to play Keegan when he's really, down there in ownership, sort of more off the radar, because he is a pretty high upside player. But that ownership does feel like it's sort of at the limit of where I'm comfortable with. I feel like Charlie Hoffman is an okay play, $6,800 price tag. Chuck Hoffman, I don't know. He's just been one of those guys who I keep playing, and I keep playing him in the wrong spots for whatever reason, or I just can't get him right, because I feel like he never pays off for me. But hopefully he'll pay off for us this week. I might sprinkle him in just a bit. Let's see what he's been doing here recently. Chuck Hoffman at the API gained 5.5 strokes on approach and 5.6 strokes tee to green. And at Genesis before that, which was his appearance before that, gained 4.8 strokes on approach and 1.7 strokes tee to green. So hitting the ball well. Hoffman, a talented player, right? A player that definitely has some upside in him. Just a player that I can't seem to get right. But hopefully we get him right this week. He's missed the cut here his last 2 tries. His best finish is a T30. He's done that twice in 2017 and 2015. But he's missed 3 of his last he's missed the cut in 3 of his last 5 go-arounds. I don't know. I'm not in love with it, but if you have $6,800 left and you want to slot someone in, I guess Chuck Hoffman is not the worst idea. Could also play Brendan Steele at $6,700, 3.1% projected ownership. Again, I wouldn't be dipping down into the swag bag too much, but Steele at least coming in 25th on approach and 10th in opportunities gained. So at a price tag this cheap, I'll take that skill set, even if the rest of the game really isn't there. But, down here in this pricing range, you're not going to get guys that are super well-rounded. So you're just going to have to deal with it and sort of take your shots where you see fit. And Steele seems like a fair shot to take, given those approach numbers and the fact that, he's been giving himself real looks at birdie here as of late. So Steele, $6,700 price tag, 3.1% projected ownership. And next we have another guy who seems to always make his way into our swag bag, sometimes into the mid shelf, depending on the strength of field. But certainly in a field this strong, belongs in the swag bag. Harold Varner III, giving us decent value at $6,700, 2.5% projected ownership. He can get hot with the irons, 47th on approach in this field over the last 12 measured events, but 22nd tee to green, and 6th in the par 3s. So like to see that as well to boot. So Harold Varner III looking like a solid play if you do get stuck down here in this pricing range, and only 2.5% projected ownership. Doesn't carry a ton of upside, really, in my opinion, but a guy who could churn out a top 20, top 25 for you, and at $6,700, you'd be happy with that. And that actually may be a combination that can get you up there in a millionaire maker type of tournament, especially at 2.5% projected ownership. An absolute shot you could take would be a Kyle Stanley, $6,500 price tag, 1.2% projected ownership. And this is our buyer beware play of the week. This could definitely backfire in your face. He is 9th on approach over the last 12 measured rounds. So he has that going for him. Gained 1.3 strokes on approach at the API, even though he missed the cut because he lost 5.6 strokes putting. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough Florida swing for him. He lost 3.4 strokes on approach before that at the Genesis. Man, so yeah, he's not enjoyed his time in Florida here at the API on these greens. If we can get Kyle Stanley to maybe be neutral or maybe just lose a tiny bit on the greens and make a cut here, then that's really all you're looking for down here in this pricing range. You're taking guys who you hope make the cut, and then you're hoping the guys that you pay up for finish, in the top 5, and you have the winner as well. And then all that's needed down here in this pricing range is a guy that made the cut. You're just that's what you're hoping that the optimal lineup construction looks like when you're taking a guy down here, because they don't really present all that high of upside. But another guy who could make the cut, and maybe be in one of those builds where you're taking some stars and scrubs, and you want your stars obviously to have some top finishes. Andrew Putnam, $6,300 price tag, 3.1% projected ownership. Putnam's been playing well lately. Let's see here. Where are you, Mr. Putnam? All the way at the bottom. Coming in 22nd in the custom model, 36th tee to green, 43rd on approach. Putnam's been running a super hot putter, 14th on Bermuda surfaces, and 14th in the par 3s. So opportunities gained is where he's really struggling, 139th in that category, so not hitting it very close to the hole. But when you're running a putter as hot as Putnam is, you might not need to. It's almost like Jordan Spieth, a guy who, if he had any sort of semblance of success around TPC Sawgrass, I'd be all over Spieth this week. If you're running a super hot putter like Putnam is, opportunities gained really might not matter. You can drop him in really from anywhere at that point. So Putnam looking like a solid play, even if a speculative one, but all the way down at $6,300. Of course, it's a speculative play, and he's only 3.1% owned. Again, probably likely because all this ownership concentration sitting in that high 9K or in the 9K and high 8K range. A lot of people are building balanced, and it makes sense to me because there's so much top 10 equity and even win equity in that pricing range that you really want to hammer it this week. So if you do end up building some stars and scrubs type stuff, you can look to Putnam, $6,300 price tag, 3.1% projected ownership. But probably my favorite play, let's see, I'd go Connors as one of the safer plays. It's because of his ball striking abilities here in the SCHWAG bag. Lanto's been playing really well. Siwoo's one of my favorite high upside plays here in the SCHWAG bag. And my other favorite high upside play here in the SCHWAG bag is our last play of the week down here in the SCHWAG bag. It's Mr. Doug Ghim, $6,200 price tag, 4.3% projected ownership. Ghim's been playing well, sort of quietly. He became popular there for a couple events on Draftkings, but then dropped back down in ownership at the API. And he performed at the API. Let me pull Ghim's strokes gain data from the API. Finished 36th, gained 2.4 strokes tee to green and 1.3 strokes on approach. Gained another 1.8 strokes off the tee. Yeah, we'll take that for a guy priced at $6,200. He's had some solid finishes here as of late. Came 5th in the American Express, 37th at the Farmers, 21st at the AT&T. Did miss the cut at the Genesis, but then came 36th last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So yeah, Doug Ghim looking like a guy that's a bit underpriced at $6,200. Allows you a lot of lineup flexibility all the way down there at $6,200 and a lot of ways to get to unique builds at that point. So yeah, Doug Ghim, one of my favorite high upside plays, along with Siwoo Kim down here in the SCHWAG bag. If you're looking for safety down here, look more to the Corey Connors or Lanto Griffin types, or don't look to the SCHWAG bag at all, because if you can really live, again, in this 9K and 8K range, and even the high 7K range, there's some studs there. You got Fleetwood, you got Louis Oosthuizen, even though he comes with his own set of, withdrawal risk, but you got to risk it for the biscuit, baby. And we're willing to do that because we're the HTG crew. And that's why we're going to take down a milli this week. You guys are going to let me know when you do it. And then we're going to Vegas, baby. We're going to Vegas. So that does it for us this week. Let's go get our milli. Let's get to Vegas. Enjoy your fucking Players Championship week. I know I will. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I really don't know what you're doing. Like, help me out. I got my hair picked out. I got like the big fro thing going just for this week because I'm so hyped. I got to swing the energy from last week and get us this milli for the HTG crew. That's what this is all about. So if you could just hit me with the subscribe, hit me with the like, hit the notification bell. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching it on the website, I love you. Keep doing it. Keep the traffic coming. Make sure you check out the Quickie article. And yeah, that does it for me this week, guys. I'll see you guys in Vegas. Peace.